Tour for Tolerance is a multicultural organization consisting of Holocaust survivors, Jews, Christians, Muslims, educators, students, and members from many ethnic groups. At Tour for Tolerance, we're converting buses into high-tech classrooms, traveling to schools for the teaching of tolerance, empathy, compassion, and inclusion, humanity and understanding at a moment when those qualities are vitally needed. Here's a closer look.
Evil still exists. What are we going to do about it? Just let it be? Let's not. Let's agree to try and do something.
Holocaust, the civil rights movement, Japanese internment camps. They are just a few of the dark moments in history sparked by hatred and intolerance. Bill Tingling is concerned they're being forgotten.
There's not enough tolerance education throughout the entire country.
Tingling, a longtime Holocaust education advocate, is behind an initiative called the Tour for Tolerance. The idea is to transform a bus into a high-tech interactive classroom and bring lessons of fighting hate right to students' doors.
They'll come on the bus, and as soon as they sit down, they'll be transported into historical events.
The bus would be outfitted with video screens that show holograms of Holocaust survivors, members of the civil rights movement, and more.
From that, we'll be able to talk about bullying, antisocial behavior, racism, anti-Semitism. One bus per year will be able to reach 50,000 students.
The Tour for Tolerance bus would travel all across the 5 boroughs, and in addition to offering interactive video programming, the goal is also to have someone who survived the civil rights era or the Holocaust on board to tell their story in person.
To be in a labor camp was no picnic. People were shot to death, were worked to death, were starved to death.
Sammy Stiegman was barely a toddler when his family was taken to a Nazi labor camp in Ukraine.
Since I was too young, only a year and a half, obviously I could not work, so I was subjected to Nazi medical experimentations.
A decade ago, he started to realize there were fewer and fewer survivors like him, so he dedicated his time to educating young people about his family's horrific past. Now he's among the survivors participating in the Tour for Tolerance project.
Unfortunately, in today's society, we have forgotten how to disagree in a civil way. And if we don't learn from the past, history will repeat itself.
Wars have raged for the simple fact that one person doesn't look the same as another, worship the same, vote for the same leader, or call the same country home. Each time one of these atrocities come to an end, our collective consciousness says, never again. But history repeats itself often, more brutally than before. Tolerance and diversity are under fierce social and political attacks. Coming to grips with what divides us is crucially needed today.
Five Jewish people with a common bond, survivors of the Holocaust whose families were among the millions lost during humanity's darkest hour. They gathered at the Museum of Jewish Heritage to view a living memorial to the Holocaust. The images rekindled thoughts of loved ones lost, Dr. Ruth Westheimer's mother and father among them.
Every time I see a picture on Auschwitz, I look if I can see my father, my grandmother, my mother, the other grandparents, and I've never found them.
Ruth Mermelstein and her sister lost 6 siblings and their parents at Auschwitz concentration camp. She still cannot shake the memory of a verbal encounter with another woman.
She showed me a pile of ashes, and she said, "This is where your parents are, your whole family."
With the dramatic rise in anti-Semitism, she is fearful lessons from the past haven't been learned.
It's very frightening to me, because this is how it started. I say, please God, he should look down and see to it, that this shouldn't happen again.
I couldn't recognize my mother. I couldn't find her in the crowd because I've never seen her without hair.
Tova Friedman survived Auschwitz because her mother hid her among corpses.
I don't think people realize what hatred and prejudice can do and how far it can go. It's like a cancer.
The two survivors compare the prison numbers tattooed on their arms, and Tova recalls the kindness of a prison guard.
She said, I'm going to give you a very small number. So I was 5.5. So if you survive, you can wear a long shirt, sleeved, and you won't be ashamed of anything.
Back now with Holocaust survivors Dr. Ruth Westheimer, Tova Friedman, and Ruth Mermelstein. And we're joined by a man who is dedicated to reversing the tide of hate, and he is trying awfully hard to achieve that. Meet Bill Tingling. He's a longtime Holocaust advocate, education advocate. He's behind an initiative called A Tour for Tolerance. The idea is to transform a bus into a high-tech classroom and bring lessons of fighting hate. Good to have you with us, Bill.
Good to see you.
Tell us about this program. What are you doing? You've been out there trying to reverse that tide.
Indeed. There are less than 40,000 Holocaust survivors remaining in New York. And it is our mission now to get Holocaust survivors and their liberators to see 400,000 high school kids and 379,000 middle school kids here in New York. How do we plan to do that? Our bus. We're converting buses into high-tech classrooms for the teaching of tolerance, empathy, compassion, and inclusion. And it's just a matter of time that we'll be able to have the first bus to see 50,000 students per year. When
you want a fleet of these buses?
Absolutely.
I think we have a video which very graphically shows once the students are on the bus, this is what it would be like.
And as the scene moves, they are seeing something shocking from history. We will be looking at the Holocaust, the internment of the Japanese, the Civil Rights Movement, Rwanda, Somalia, different moments in history where intolerance led to atrocities. In the second part, students will virtually interview the witnesses and the subjects of atrocities to talk about how they felt, what they were afraid of, how they found the courage to resist and to survive.
Very important lessons to be learned. But this is something now, it's an initiative going forward. But for 15 years, you've been out there talking to kids, going to schools.
Yes.
You have to get into the colleges where there's such a rise in anti-Semitism. What is the reaction to people when you talk about anti-Semitism and tell them how wrong it is?
It's unfortunate that they're not aware of certain things in regards, particular to the Holocaust. We believe that if they had full knowledge of what took place in the past, man inhumanity to man, particularly the Holocaust, then they would not have had such behavior of hate. Charlottesville took place a few days ago, one may say. I believe, Marvin, if we had had our bus in place to be able to show them the importance of love, kindness, empathy, compassion, tolerance, we would not have a Charlottesville. Great thing.
That is really commendable in what you're doing now. If you had someone like Bill back in the 30s,
Right. That's right.
might he have made a difference?
I try to have them understand that they have to be aware when the prejudice starts, and it can even start with bullying.
You can spend so much more time talking about this. I appreciate your sharing your stories with us, and congratulations to
Thank you.
Continue your good work.
Indeed.
Tova Friedman and Ruth Mermelstein and Dr. Ruth Westheimer. Bill Tingling, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for the program.
Very important issue to talk about.
Our first mission is to get most of the New York City middle and high school students to see and hear the story of a Holocaust survivor or their liberators before they're all gone. How will we do this? Superimposed over the bus's windows are many historical scenes, including Jews being deported from Germany and Poland. Civil rights marches in Washington, D.C., and in the South during the 1960s. As the journey ends, students sees a group of witnesses waiting to board a bus. In the second part of the exhibit, aided by teachers and technology, the students interact with witnesses who have powerful stories to tell. The tour concludes with students committing to projects that will promote civic responsibility and embrace diversity. Beginning with the visits to schools, one bus will serve more than 50,000 students annually. Going forward, we envision bringing tolerance education to millions of students nationwide. The dream for a better tomorrow rests with the seeds we plant today. Please join us.
It's a journey
to awareness,
to empowerment of everyone,
to progress.
Join the tour.
Get on board.